Hi, good morning, everyone. How are you doing today? Welcome to my Sunday live stream where we talk about photography and what's new, what I've been up to, and just catch up on how everybody else is doing. I hope everyone's doing well wherever you are. So let me just check in real quick. I see Jeff is here, J Train, Tony, Jerky's here, Christina M, Michael, Kali, hi, and Plato, John Truman, Barry, Peter, and David Tellett. Good to see you. Oh man, we should have. I I really wanted to go out this week because it was so warm, and I was gonna call you, but then I just I have this video review I have to finish. It's almost done. But next week, hopefully, I can make some time. If you have time, we can go out and do some shooting with our film cameras. And Archery's here. Good to see you. Um, so yeah, yesterday was like 60 degrees, Fahrenheit, which is I think 20 Celsius. And today is right at 0 Celsius or 32 degrees right now where I am. So quite a shift. Cold front came in, and we're gonna get that today and tomorrow, and then on Tuesday it'll get to about significantly above freezing, and then by Wednesday, Thursday we'll be back into uh, not spring weather, but a nice warm front coming back in. So I can't wait for that. So that'll be a good time to go out. I think Wednesday maybe. Um, and I see Robert's here. Um, and Randy, good to see you. Good morning. 82 degrees there. So nice. Uh, um, System Mature always takes a clear polythene bag with him. Good idea. If it's raining out, I don't like to go out. That's why it was so hard for me last week when I had to do that weather challenge for Peter Forsgaard's 52-week assignments. And I finally, late night, I submitted my black and white image that I took for the week. I'll share it with you real quick. Let's see. I need to go to a file browser. But I want to talk about this image just for a minute or two. Seriously, my Instagram folder is not here now. Anything I post online, I just put in the same folder and I call it Instagram because usually I post into both. And then I need. Let's see. I think this will work. No. Give me a second. I need to change the monitor to primary. There we go. So this is the image full screen. Some of you may have seen it either on my Flickr or Instagram because I did post it there. And I almost didn't post anything, and I wrote a little bit on the Facebook page about it. I almost didn't post anything because I took hundreds of pictures this week in black and white, and and I love black and white photography. I got a few images that I really like that I've taken, and somehow, I wanted to do something that would be difficult in some way, either technically, right? Like a very difficult picture to take technically, or maybe in terms of access, like it's not a picture that just anybody walking down the street can take. Um, or something that maybe told a story or had some maybe an abstract. I don't know. I came up with all these different ideas to try to make a black and white image that would be worthy for the assignment from my point of view, right? I mean, there was a lot of fantastic images, and um, but we all have our own challenges that we want to become better photographers. And I didn't want to submit something that I always take, right? And I got a lot of compliments on this picture, but to me, this is like just a snapshot. It doesn't really say anything or mean anything to me. I mean, if I give you a little bit of the backstory about what this is an old house in disrepair in the middle of Ellicott City, and it has some historical value apparently, because otherwise this would have been torn down and replaced with a glass and steel office space. But it's still there and it's being renovated. I guess it had some construction papers on it, permits and things of stuff to be done. Um, but yeah, this was the best I could do this week for that challenge. And this week's challenge coming up is blue. And again, it can be something, a color blue. It can be sort of maybe an emotional image that makes you feel blue. Blue is it's very open to interpretation, which is great. So I'm trying to I think what I'll do, because 1 week really, let me get rid of this image. So that was the image, and I got my chat section working again. It's just a little checkbox in one of the settings. It's so silly. Um, is it the Munsters or Adams family? No, this house was just a regular house, just a little matchbox. Um, and I thought the lamp in the window was interesting, because a lot of times, particularly in Ellicott City, which is just a nice little town here in Maryland, a lot of the window space is about, because when we think of a window in a house, we normally think about, what can we see from the window? And, when we're inside the house. But a lot of the windows in Ellicott City is all about what people can see in. What is being presented and framed within the window that people walking by can see. Namely a lot of businesses, right? They do that on purpose. But it made me think about, people's homes as well. Do they specifically put things in the window for people to see from the outside, right? So I thought that might be an interesting little project, to go around maybe Alexandria or some neighborhoods, and it's kind of creepy, right? Taking pictures of people inside of people's windows, right? but but if people are very intentional about what they display in their window for people to see from the outside, I think I might get a little bit of a pass on that, right? Hopefully, if I get arrested for being a peeping tom or something, I'll let you know. But I thought it might be, for businesses, it would be very easy to do, because that's all they do, is everything they put in a window is for displaying for people to see from the outside. Retail businesses, in other words, not necessarily like office space, right? That's usually all mirrored out anyway. Um, yeah, the windows, actually, it's not half closed. There's a shutter missing. Let me just pop it up real quick. Did it really go back to the wrong monitor? There it is. Uh, really, it's just a shutter missing. So the house is in major disrepair, beyond just this shutter missing, because you can see the hinges here for the shutter, and they're just missing. But anywho, God, what the heck was I talking about? I don't remember. I was talking about something, and then I read a comment, and it just it just got lost. Bad, bad. I talked about this immediate short-term memory is just bad. And it's not even fair to call it short-term memory. It's more of like being able to concentrate and not get distracted, right? Um, I was talking about taking pictures of windows and not getting arrested and businesses and offices. Well, anyway, uh, that might be an interesting project, but on a bigger scale, I was thinking, well, going back to the window thing, during the holidays and things, people are very deliberate about what they put in their windows, right? Whatever the holiday is, Easter, Christmas, are the ones that come to mind for me. People put bunny rabbits out. Halloween is another big one. uh, that people put things in their windows and around their windows. So I don't know. I don't know. It would be maybe one project I might think about. And this is what got me thinking about the 52 assignments from Peter, where we get a different assignment every week, and it could be something abstract like blue or something very specific like the weather, right? Uh, But he gave us a list of 52 things we're going to do this year, and he's already given us all 52 assignments ahead of time. So my thought is, because that the 1 week to do black and white just wasn't enough time. So my thought is maybe look at all the assignments coming up in April or May and start taking pictures for those assignments now, so that by the time that month rolls along, that week comes along, I will have developed an eye for whatever it is the project is about. So, God, where did I put my list? It's right. I put it up there. But let's say there's something on the list. I don't know. Um, Damn it! It should be right frickin' here. That list. Really stressing me. If I have to print that thing out again, I'm gonna be upset because I just had it in my hands yesterday and I was looking at it. But my point is, look at all of the assignments that are several months from now and start taking pictures for those assignments so that when the assignment comes, the time comes, I'll be a little bit more prepared and maybe be able to submit an image that I can be proud of or content with at least, right? And that's what I'm thinking on that, because it was hard taking a black and white image that I thought would be, like I said, worthy of the assignment from my point of view. I mean, I had some abstract ideas that I was thinking about because I don't do abstracts very much. Uh, and all of those turned out crap because, I don't do abstracts much, and 1 week is not really enough time for me to get a feel for shooting abstracts. And so I just fell back on my typical image that I take, um, something in disrepair or something that has lots of nice textures and shadows and highlights, all of the things that you do for black and white photography, right? And not that I've mastered any of those things, and certainly I still have a long way to go in terms of taking a good black and white image. But uh, for the projects coming up in the next several months, I'm going to need more time. I can't finish an assignment in 1 week, is what I'm discovering. And I saw one comment in the Facebook page that, some people are submitting images um, as practice because they know that they're nowhere near being able to capture an image, kind of like me, right? They're just not even close to capturing a black and white image that they feel good about. So they post it to get feedback and criticism. Even though they're submitting it for the assignment and everyone wants to submit their best, sometimes you can submit things uh, so that you can get some feedback. Because if it's an area of photography that you want to get into, then it can be really helpful to get some constructive criticism. But take it all with a grain of salt, right? You have to have your own voice, right, when it comes to photography, and your own message, your own story, your own perspective, and then I think you can be proud of something, right? It's okay to copy, other people to develop certain skill sets, right? Like in flash photography, if you don't know how to do, crush the ambient light, for example, like that concept doesn't make sense to you. So you look at some of the techniques and you start practicing and trying to imitate an image that you liked. That's perfectly fine. But ultimately, you do want to try to come up with your own images, something that's uniquely you. Uh, because the sad thing is I would probably say 99.9% of everything there a picture has been taken of it, right? No matter what you think you got a picture of, I'm sure somebody else took the exact same picture uh at this point because there's just so many photos out there. Uh and but you can still make that image uniquely your own, right? Somehow. Uh and that's what I strive to do is try to find my own voice, my own images. And that's why when I submitted this image of the window, I was just not happy because I feel like any one of you could have taken that picture, right? If you saw that window, you would take a picture of it, probably, right? Maybe not in black and white, maybe in color. Uh, but if all of us go to this house as a group and we all take pictures of this house, I focused on the window, but maybe you would have focused on the shingles or the chimney or the door, maybe the stickers on the window of the construction permits. Everyone can have a different take or a different view of that same subject. Um, and me taking a picture of the window is one thing to do, but it just, like I said, it doesn't scream, "Oh, Rob took that picture," right? It just says, "Oh, it's a picture of the window. That's nice." It has some nice textures. It has good highlights and shadows. The lamp inside the window is kind of interesting, and the curtains, the patterns on the curtain. There's all kinds of things you can kind of analyze and draw parallels, maybe with things in your life, possibly, right? The aging, peeling paint. Can represent you getting older and the wrinkles in your own face. I don't know. I'm really drawing at strings here. But it doesn't none of those things mattered to me when I took that image. I took the image because of those characteristics, and the elements that are in the picture because it really, uh, they were there, right? Um, Interesting lamp, interesting textures and tones, but still, to me, it was just a snapshot. Um, just anyway, I gotta stop harping on being so self-critical. A lot of people liked it. But I didn't, like it too much, and I guarantee, I don't know, maybe and I've only really been shooting for about 8 or 9 years now, and only really the last 5 or 6 have I been halfway 7, maybe the last 7 years, I've been halfway serious about trying to be a better photographer. Uh, and it's, like everyone says, it's a lifelong journey, right? You're never done. You're never done learning, you're never done taking photos. Which brings me to another conversation that came up in the Flickr group, and there's some good posts also in the Rob Trek forum, which I really have only been checking about twice a week and not participating enough. I need to start really building that community back or supporting it in some way. Uh, and the Flickr group is kind of self-sustaining in a way. I haven't had to do much there other than post some of my own images and respond to some feedback. But there was an interesting idea brought up by Demorkin, and go to my Flickr group, Rob Trek Community, and you'll see the post there that he made. But he basically said feels that photographers of old, like me and lots of you that have been taking pictures since the film days, um, are taking pictures to capture memories, right? And we print them out, we put them on our walls and frames, our family, whatever vacations we went on. We're capturing memories, and he feels like that the current day photographer is really about capturing experiences. And um they want to capture the experience that they're in, typically in video format. Maybe they're skiing, maybe they're out having a party with their friends, but they're trying to capture their experiences that they're having and share them immediately. And that the camera manufacturers are not giving them what they want. And um, you know, which I thought was interesting. I mean, I can see that point of view, but I kind of responded and I said that, well, I think experienced type photographers, not experienced, but the photographers that are looking to share their experience that they're having in their life is a different kind of photographer than the photographers that want to capture memories and moments in time. Um, and the two are different. I don't think, because I think his post, and you can read it for yourself, but I think his post was trying to imply that um, there's been an evolution from photographers like us or like me. I don't want to group everybody in, but photographers like me that are trying to capture memories and moments in time are far and few between, not like they used to be. That's not the new market for photography that and the camera manufacturers are still making cameras for us, but not for the new generation. Uh, and my argument was that they're really different photographers. All of us are still here. We're still capturing memories and those important moments in our life. Maybe it's Christmas with your family, or maybe it's a wedding. You're capturing those important moments in your life for those memories. Um, and I think definitely cameras are very well made for that. But for the experienced photographer, they're not going to buy a dedicated camera like we would. They're going to buy, if they buy anything, maybe they're just going to use their cell phone, which is really the perfect tool for that kind of photography. But they're going to buy action cams, right? Little GoPros or Insta 360s and all this well, the explosion in action cam type gear and equipment, I think, is addressing those photographers that are looking to share their experience. And the ability to share that experience, through your phone or online, whatever, I think is really a different idea altogether. It's not really related to the camera industry so much. Although, if cameras were able to share things instantly, and let's take this hypothetical, right? Let's say they come out with a camera. Apple comes out with a dedicated camera that has the Apple iOS or maybe Android with the Android uh, operating system, which Samsung did some years ago and it flopped or, didn't get any traction. But, if they do come out with it, I don't know if that would entice these experience seeking photographers to buy a real camera. And he followed up with another post about, you know, there were some of these new generation type photographers or experience seeking photographers buying a real camera and not being able to use them and finding out that, they need to swap lenses to get this kind of shot or, et cetera, right? They're having all kinds of workflow issues. Like it didn't fit their lifestyle to capture the experiences that they wanted to capture using a real camera. Either because the gear is bulky or cumbersome, meaning, changing lenses, doing flash, all the accessories we use, or it's not able to share instantly. So there's a lot of limitations in terms of workflow for them. And then also they weren't getting much support, right? They would buy a camera with a kit lens, and then they go online and they start looking for help on how to use it. And all they're hearing is that they bought a piece of crap lens and they need to buy these nice primes or expensive zooms, right? And uh, and it discourages them when they feel like the kit lens was doing a good job for them, but then they're watching things online and then they get discouraged and they're like, "Well, I bought a piece of crap," you know? And they didn't. And my channel here, I'm always telling people kit lenses rock, I sell a t-shirt that says that. I haven't sold one, and I don't care about that because I don't recommend people buy my merch because I'm going through some third party and it's really expensive. It's like $25 for a t-shirt. It's ridiculous. Um, I should take all that crap off my channel because it's just useless. But anyway, before I get distracted and forget what I was talking about, which is it almost slipped away. Now it slipped away. I was talking about, yeah. So, on my channel, I always talk about how kit lenses are awesome, you know, and sure, pro lens or, the expensive lenses, yeah, they're going to be better, right? But not to the level that you need to spend that kind of money if you just want to capture good images. Because ultimately, a good photo is not about how sharp it is or, crisp and contrasty and, all of the characteristics that we look for in a quality lens. These experience type photographers are looking to capture their experience, and a kit lens is more than adequate to do that. It's very and I can appreciate how they're very discouraged maybe when they go online and they start researching, about their camera and looking for tutorials and things, and then they hear that their kit lens is crap. So let me tell you, they're not. I use kit lenses all the time. Like here's my EM5 Mark III, right? I got the 14 to 150 kit lens. Man, when I zoom this thing out to 150 millimeters, and I don't stop it down to like f11, it is super soft and the edges are just mushy. It's a wreck. It's a train wreck, but I capture images that I really like out of this lens. It's very versatile and it's awesome for taking into situations where it's unpredictable. I've done paid work with this lens. I use this lens for video, and I've done a couple of jobs using this lens for video because it was an event where people were either going to be sitting right next to me, right, or sitting down, and I'm standing, but they'll be sitting down, or they there could be people far away, 50 yards away that I need to get shots of a performance. And I'm a one man operation, so at an event, I can just zoom out to capture the people right here. And then if something starts happening over there, I can zoom in and capture it without having to run over there and miss the moment. And this is perfect. And client was very happy with what I did with this lens and this camera. I'm sorry, this is the EM1 Mark III. Uh, they were very happy, and all of the defects in the lens and the images uh, didn't come through in the final work. It all they saw, the clients saw, were the moments and the performances that they wanted to keep as a memory, right, of that event. Um, and it was a really great thing, that event. Really something I took a lot of personal pleasure in photographing and filming. But anyhow, uh, so if you're one of the experienced type photographers, the kit lenses are fine. If you're a professional photographer, kit lenses are fine. The gear doesn't matter, right? And I don't know how many times, somebody has to say that the gear doesn't matter, it doesn't matter, it doesn't matter. Uh, once, the only time gear really matters is when you have a very specific assignment or project that you're working on. You make a decision on what gear you're going to use for that. That would be most appropriate for that particular assignment. And that's what you use. And then you're done, you know? So for me, Panasonic S5, I use that now for video. Um, and I use my EM1 Mark III for everything else, or one of my Olympus cameras. For my paid work, I use the EM1 Mark III. For my personal stuff, Pen F or EM5, whatever other Olympus camera, maybe film, it doesn't matter. But that's the only time really gear matters, is when you need to find something that to fit a very specific need. Uh, then you get that gear, and this idea that there's some perfect camera that can do it all is nonsense. It's just I just don't ever see that happening. Not in my lifetime. Maybe one day, but not in my lifetime. Am I going to see the perfect camera that can do it all and satisfy all of my needs? Because I talked about last week on their Thursday, just this past Thursday, about what I consider important in a camera, the top 5 things. And certainly image quality was one of the top 5, but it was number 5. It wasn't number 1. And uh, so I'm second guessing myself here in terms of how long can I talk about one thing? That again, my point is the gear doesn't matter, uh, except in rare circumstances, and for specific I wouldn't say rare, but it's very specific things. And the perfect camera doesn't exist, and it never will, at least not in my lifetime. If it happens in my lifetime, I'll eat my words, I guess, but I just don't see it. Oh, Plato's been following up here. And let me catch up on the chat real quick before I get too self-involved here about in a rant. Because I am very prone to rants, and I bite my lip every single stream not to go on a rant about something. Sometimes it slips out and I do go on a rant. Uh, but rants are not productive, They're not they're not productive or constructive. So I bite my lip. Just like there's a lot of topics that come up that I feel that are not photography related that I could talk about, but it's not productive. Um, they prefer super zoom bridge cameras. Yeah, that's a good camera, right? For the experience seekers or experience type photographers. Um, and Jerky, he's taking photography for the experience of the act itself of going out, right? Um, and getting some exercise, taking some photos, and just enjoying your time. And that's the beauty of amateur photography, right? Is there's no pressure. You do it because you enjoy it. it's not a job. And sure, if you're trying to get better at something very specific, like I just talked 20 minutes about how much I hated my black and white image, and I turned it into a chore, and it became I wouldn't say I was stressed out, but it was definitely very challenging, and I came to a realization I needed more time, um, rather than stressing and being disappointed with the image that I submitted. I just have to plan ahead and start taking images, and getting better at whatever the assignment's going to be, so that when I do submit an image, I can say that, and it doesn't have to be a good image. It just has to be an image that I can show and say that I have improved, right? I'm a better photographer now at this particular topic. This image uh, expresses exactly what I wanted to show, or it's showing what I wanted to show. It doesn't have to be a good image, just showing what I wanted to show, basically. Um, yeah, Michael White likes the 14 to 42 easy lens, and kit lenses can be fun. I love my little 14 to 42 easy power zoom. I find the less sharpness of this little guy a bonus to give the shot more retro look. Yeah, and Christine M has a sentence here: experience versus memories. I get an inkling here, but I don't subscribe to that dichotomy. Perhaps in terms of immediate, easy posting, but not in terms of expression. See classic street travel, etc. Right. So there are, and maybe, like I said, you have to read DeMorgan's post for yourself and see how you interpret it. But I interpret as he categorized photographers in these two areas. But really, there's all kinds of different photography, like Christine M just mentioned, and those, like I said, those are, I would put that in a category of memories because people are capturing moments in time. So it's in the past and it would be a memory. I mean, everything's in the past, right? Everything I've said up to this point has been in the past. I'm gonna drive myself crazy because I'm a sci-fi nut. So I when I start thinking about time and all of that, I get confused. Um, Ma Chan says photography saved his life. Robin's shutter therapy, stress relief. Thanks, Doc. Yeah. And that's really, I saw somebody trying to take a spin on Robin's saying there. I don't know if they knew Robin had the term shutter therapy, but they took a spin on it, and they may think it was original, like they thought of this themselves, but they called it shutter. Uh, they didn't call it shutter therapy, but some cinnamon to therapy, and like shutter relaxation or something, was the term that they used in their thumbnail. And I was like, oh, that's Robin Shutter Therapy, sort of slogan. So I'm not accusing him of ripping it off. Maybe he thought of that all by himself, but that's what I mean. What everything that's been said or taken or done, everything's been said or done already, really, in terms of everything. And Chan says it healed my soul. And John Allen says the new Ollie specs are out. Yeah. I just watched this morning before the stream, I watched Tony Northrup's video about the new OM1 coming out based on the leaked specs, assuming they're true. And uh, I really it's exactly what you would expect from Tony Northrup. It was very technical and fairly fair, right? I think he was fair. But, um, I guess, the top like, I have the top 5 things I look for in a camera, right? The top 5 things he looks for in a camera is starkly different from what I look for. And he's a very technical based that particular video was very technical based on the specs, right? Comparing the specs to what else is already available in full frame cameras. And he missed a couple of things that I wouldn't say he missed a couple of things. He didn't talk about things that will probably be in the camera, but they weren't mentioned in the leaked specs, like pro capture, for example. So he left out the whole idea of pro capture. And then in one of his comparisons was like, okay, so we can capture the new OM leak spec is 92 frames per second, or I'm sorry, 120 frames per second raw capture, right? No, with single point autofocus, not continuous, but fixed autofocus. Uh, but you can only capture 92 frames per second um, in the buffer. So his conclusion was that you're going to get less than 1 second burst shooting, and then you're going to start to, the camera's going to start to buffer and slow down. And but that but if the camera has pro capture, and if that's the case, right? Let's say you have less than 1 second burst capture, then the camera starts to slow down. He's saying that that's not really enough time to capture, the decisive moment. You're going to miss it if that's all you can buffer. But pro capture sort of eliminates that problem because it gives you another full second almost of buffering before you push the shutter down. So really you have closer to 2 seconds before you might lose the moment. Now just because you hit that 92 frame per second buffer, yeah, the camera may slow down slightly. So instead of capturing 120 frames per second, after you hit that buffer, it might slow down to 100 or it might slow down to half, like 60 frames per second. So I thought that conclusion or that one specific thing I thought was a little bit premature to talk about any limitations the camera might have um, based on the leak specs. As for a lot of the things in the leak specs, and he does say that in his video that he needs, once he gets the camera in, so he's going to test the camera. So it'll be interesting to watch that. But it's a little premature to uh, start talking about the specs on the camera versus the real world performance, because in practice a 92 frame buffer is is not bad, you know and maybe in 5 seconds you capture 1,000 frames, right? Well, okay, let me rephrase that. In 5 seconds, the most you can capture is like 600 frames at 120 frames per second, assuming there was no buffer limit. But with a 92 frame buffer limit, in 5 seconds, plus the pro capture, we'll say 6 seconds, maybe you only capture 300 frames, instead of 600. That's still pretty darn good, in the real world. That's still pretty decisive or significant or impressive, I should say. Um, so anyway, and the other thing that I don't like this argument, and he feels very strongly about this, that the 300 millimeter f4 lens is really a 600 millimeter f8. because because he says the surface area of the uh, full frame sensor captures 4 times as much light, and he has this whole equivalency thing, and I don't want to open up that can of worms, but that to me still is. I still don't agree with that personally. I haven't been convinced that that's the case, because I always look at exposure in terms of per square centimeter, right? Per unit, not the total area, but per unit, how much light is being captured by the sensor per pixel or per group of pixels, whatever. And that determines your exposure. Now, in terms of field of view versus depth of field, yeah, okay, there's going to be a difference, right? If you want to capture the same field of view, you know, you have to double the aperture to capture the same depth of field between cameras. There's that conversion factor. That makes total sense to me. And depth of field is very important for me in video work, not so much in photography. But I I'm just not convinced that we need to look at the 300 millimeter f4 as really a 600 millimeter f8 in terms of photography. I'm just not convinced that's the case, especially when it comes to exposure and image quality. But I don't have a 300 millimeter f4, and I don't have a 600 millimeter f4 from Canon or Nikon or whoever makes that freaking bazooka lens, right? But he does. And he said he's tested it. I guess there's a video on it, and he was able to decisively show that support uh his claim that really it's a 600 millimeter f8 and not a 300 millimeter f4. And if I was considering buying those lenses, I might watch the video. But if I watch the video, it's going to be purely academic, and I'm clearly biased in my beliefs, because I've just never believed that's the case, because I know when I'm doing video work, uh, I clearly have to consider aperture in terms of how much light is hitting the sensor and the exposure of the room or the office space, whatever I'm filming, right? And I'm struggling a little bit with the S5, because to get the same depth of field for my hyperfocal distance, I'm having a little bit of a challenge with my other lens. So that's why I bought a new lens, so I can get a wider angle, so I can get a shorter distance to my hyperfocal distance, or use a lower aperture, which is the reason I bought it. I don't want to shoot at f8 with my Panasonic S5, which is what I have to do before I got this other lens. Because I was at f8 20 millimeters, and it required me to be at f8 8 feet 20 millimeters to get the hyperfocal distance that I wanted. So I got a wider angle lens, a 14 millimeter. Now I can be at f5.6, maybe f4 if I want to go a little bit further, maybe 10 feet, which is kind of pushing it. Depends on the size of the space. But all the same, uh, when I'm doing video work, this idea that the 300 millimeter f4 is really a 600 millimeter f8 just falls apart in video work. It doesn't make any sense at all. Um, so anyhow, ah, I tried not to go on a rant, but I did. Whenever it comes to Tony, I love Tony and Chelsea. I really don't have a problem with them, but I have to protect my babies, right? My little Olympus Micro Four Third cameras. I guess I'm protecting them in some way, because they've served me very well, and they've certainly made a big difference in my professional work in terms of, what I have to take to the job, but it's made no difference in the image quality. I still get the same excellent image quality from my Micro Four Thirds cameras as I did when I was using my Nikon D750 before. Which brings me to another video I saw by Nathan Cool. He has a great channel on real estate photography, and everything I learned about post processing, I would say 80% of what I learned from a technical standpoint, I learned from that channel. But he had a video recently about cameras and gear to use for real estate photography in 2022, and he only mentioned full frame cameras. Um, and you know, for the kind of photography that we do in real estate photography, and I do mostly office buildings. I did do a residential last week, which I hate residentials. I hope my clients don't hear me say that. Well, my residential work is not bad, but I shine more in commercial property. Uh, but the image quality, the kind of work that we do, the way we take pictures in real estate or architectural photography, um, the smaller sensor in my mind is a better fit because of the depth of field, right? You want everything in focus, but you don't want to be shooting at f16. You know what I mean? You want to shoot it like a lot of times I shoot at f5.6. That's kind of my default. And if I was on a full frame camera, I can't shoot it at 5.6. I'd have to shoot at f8, f11 to get the depth of field that I need uh, for the kind of spaces that I take pictures of. Because a lot of times I'll take pictures of 8 or 9,000 square feet spaces, and to get the right depth of field, man, I have to be at like f8 on my Micro Four Thirds, but I'd have to be at f16 on a full frame, and that just kills the light in the room. So now your shutter speeds drop way down. I mean, I'm already at like tenth of a second, right? At f5.6, 1/10 of a second indoors, a lot of times. Um, and and that's at f5.6. If I have to go to f16, a full two stops, what is that? Yeah, two stops more. That'd be 1/5, 1/2. I mean, the numbers are getting jumbled in my brain. 1/10 to 1/5 of a second to 1/4. Why is my brain not 1/10, 1/5? Half of 1/5 is 1/10, 1/5. Double 1/5 is 2/10. So 1/5. I My brain's not working today. I should be able to just snap, figure out two stops on shutter speed like that. I don't know why I'm having a brain fart on this. But you get my point. My shutter speed would be so slow um, that I risk getting motion blur in a shot, even though I'm on a tripod. Because when you're in an office space on a floor, especially residential properties, that floor is creaking and moving. If a car drives by, I mean, anything can mess that kind of shot up. Um, and when you're at that slow of a shutter speed, it's already pretty rough at 1/10 of a second. It's a little risky. But with the image stabilization built on, and I use image stabilization on a tripod just for that reason, uh, because the floors are not steady like outdoors on concrete or on the ground. And I've started using spikes on my tripod. Man, it's nice. If you have a tripod and you shoot outdoors on the ground, those spikes make that tripod, man, solid. But anyway, um, why was I talking about shutter speed and all? But anyway, so Nathan Cool has only recommended full frame cameras and lenses that would go with them. And I don't I don't know. maybe maybe I just don't have a good eye for this. Maybe a full frame camera is going to give me better results, and that's what, that's why he uses them. But I can't see it. My clients can't see it. They didn't Nobody noticed when I switched from my D750 to an EM10 Mark II. And I'm not lying. I switched from a respectable Nikon D750 full frame camera to my Olympus EM10 Mark II for my professional work. And if anything, my photography got better. None of my clients notice, and none of them care what kind of camera I use, to be honest. It's never come up. What camera do you use when you take these pictures? They could care less. They just want the final image. Okay. So that's rant number 3 out of the way. Cut out the middleman. I'm sure we'd all buy your t-shirts. Wow, cutting out the middleman would mean I'd have to print and ship them myself. That would be rough. You'd never get them. I'm gonna scroll down. Let me catch up on some chat. And this is sums up everything I said about the assignments from Peter in one sentence, right? Assignments are about learning, not winning. And that's why I'm doing it, right? And what did I spend 15 minutes on that? And Range Writer just said it in one sentence. I guess hence the screen name Range Writer, right? You're good at articulating things very succinctly. Not like us YouTubers where we just ramble on for hours, it seems. Uh Rob Trek, Guardian on the City of the Edge of Forever. I have no idea what you're referencing. That sounds like a movie. I don't know. I haven't seen it. Oh, this is when, oh wow, what time was this made? 10:45. What time is it now? Oh, 20 minutes ago. So that I was talking about time because Randy's comment here following up, uh, saying everything is in the past is like saying everything I say is a lie. And I agree with you. 14 to 150, it's one of my favorite lenses. Yeah, it is. I recently discovered though, Marcia, that at least my copy of the lens, because I was a little bit dismayed at the softness I was getting on one particular photo walk I went on, where I shot a lot of pictures at 150 millimeters, but f5.6 wide open. And I discovered I had to stop down to f16 or f11 at the very least, to get a decent sharp image corner to corner. Corner to corner sharpness. Center sharpness is good at 150 millimeters. Man, it deteriorates quickly. Let me pull one up for you while we're on this topic. Where's my practice? Let me let me open up Lightroom. Lightroom, I can do side-by-side comparisons. But the 14 to 150 lens, between 14 and I'd say 75 millimeters, that range there is pretty sharp wide open across the thing. But once you start getting 100 to 150 millimeters, man, those edges just fall apart. Unless you stop the lens way down. Um, but I'll show you. I'm just going to show you, just for those people that are interested. Let me see. Great practice. Camera. Let me switch to lens. First quarter. Okay, Ollie. 12, Ali 14, 14 to 150. All right, now let me go down. In fact, the 14 to 150 let me do JPEG. I'm just gonna share this screen because it's interesting data. So I'm just selecting JPEG, right? But these are all the different lenses I've used. I think let me get rid of this column. Yeah, the 14 to 150, 638 images. The 25 millimeter f1.8 is right now, because I'm trying, well, a lot of these are practice shots, but I'm trying to get good using the 25 millimeter lens because last year I hardly used the lens at all. So this year I'm taking this lens out more. But here's the 14 to 150, and then my practice shots are here. Okay, so here I took a picture, right? And look how ridiculous this. Let me pull up the information. Come on. So we're at f5.6 here. So some of that might be depth of field, right? But look up in here how kind of mushy the images get out to the corners, right? Now, when I stop down to, here's one at f11. Let's put these side by side. Not that. Dang it. What's my focal length? Why does it look different here? 150, 150. I'm at 150 millimeters. Let me sync. Yeah, everything's in sync. But the one on the left definitely looks bigger. Oh, because I was doing high-res shot mode. That's why. Some of these are high-res shots, so I have to. Let me not go that far. Let me go this far. Okay. These should line up a little better. So, looking in the center, dang it, it's still off. Let me pull this up. I don't want to compare images that are different. So this is a high-res shot, but this one is not. No, they both are. So what the hell? Oh, all right. F5.6 versus F11 at 150 millimeters on the 14 to 150 lens. Now this better line up. Yeah, this lines up. Okay, sorry about that. I was testing this lens. Let's let this render out. Look at the difference in sharpness, right? So we have f5.6 here, f11 here at the same focal length. Let's go to the center. You can see some of the, even in the center, look at the difference in sharpness. It's just, when you get out to the corners, things just become a mess. Let me compare this one with let's see, f5.6. This is a regular image. Let's not do high-res shot with f16. Did that That one misfocused, so I retook it. All right. Look at f16. I mean, I had to misfocus because that doesn't look right. This is why it takes me so long to make a frickin' video, because I have to take the pictures over and over again until I get consistent results. Let's see, that was the only testing I did. Here's an f16. This is not high res. This is an f16. And here's an f5.6. I think this is in focus. It's just soft. It's also possible I deleted a lot of images, so I just wasted everybody's time. But essentially, even at f16, I found the images sharper than wide open, corner to corner with this lens. So I'm going to take this lens out again for another photo walk and shoot at f11. It's going to have to be a nice bright day, but I should be good. I should be happier with the results because, man, let me tell you. Let me show you a real image, not these stupid test shots. Yeah, this one. The center, okay, let that render out. Okay, the center's not bad, right? There's a bird here flying. It's a turkey vulture or something. But look what happens up here. And I'm at 1/800th of a second, so this is not motion blur. This is just the lens falling apart at 150 millimeters wide open. I'm like, holy crap, why? Look at this corner. You know, compared to the center, and I'm going a little bit slower because I know YouTube has to render this. You know, here's another one. I'm at f5.6. Let that render in. So pretty sharp in the center. But man, look what happens when you get out to the edges. It's like just a total train wreck. It almost looks like I applied like the miniature toy filter or something. I really like this image, but man, it just falls apart so quickly. So I'm going to go back out one day and take the same image at f11 or f16 with the same lens, same same everything, and see if I can get a better result. So okay, that's another rant over on the on a lens this time. Uh, yeah, Lascivious, I heard that somewhere, that line, but no truer words have been sent. Today is a present, a gift, right? And KBTV says the answer for what kind of camera is best is how much can you afford for the lens? Yep. It's never a singular conversation. You know, you talk about the camera body, then you got to talk about the lenses and the lighting, etc. Yeah, Randy's getting at least 2 full seconds of high res or full res on his EM1X. And I did a buffer test, I guess about a year ago. I can't remember the results now because I'm not a sports action guy, so those numbers don't mean anything to me personally, but I did the buffer test for everyone to see the differences between the different cameras. And System Mature says Tony appears to be missing many reasons people use Micro Four Thirds. We are not all tech wizards. Many of us are amateur who do photography and video for. Yeah, I mean, like I said, his audience is different than mine, right? So he has to cater to his audience, and like I said, we all have our own voice in photography, and I'm not saying anything bad about Tony's channel. I'm just saying we have our own voice and opinions about things. And Christine says, yes, it's too early to discuss a new camera without having handled it, but first over the line, that's the YouTube business model. Yeah. Yeah. You haven't seen me do like a video on the specs and all of that. I tried that once back when the M5 Mark III was coming out. I did a couple of videos about speculation videos, and and they got a lot of hits, relatively speaking. My channel doesn't get a lot of traffic anyway, but I got a lot of hits, and I was thinking, wow, this, like the camera conspiracies guys and a lot of channels, when they start talking about gear and rumors and things, they do get a lot of traffic. But ultimately, that's not what I wanted my channel to be about, right? Um, I'm more of a like, after you bought the camera, how can I help you get the most out of it? How can I help you become a better photographer? Uh, so I stopped doing them. And now when I do any kind of camera review, and I haven't done one in a while, but it's always in comparison. Like, this model does this model does this. Do you really need these features? If not, you can save a lot of money by getting this. But like I think I did a video on which one is right when I did these, but I always do a comparison because it's always compared to what? And I have to compare within the cameras that I actually own, right? I'm not gonna like compare my Pen F to, say, I don't know. I have to own the camera to be able to compare it. I own plenty of cameras, but I don't own everything, right? I don't have access to everything to do these comparisons, and having a camera for a week or two is not really enough time to appreciate the features, benefits, or disadvantages of a camera within a couple of weeks. You have to own it and use it for a while. Then you can give like a real owner's user experience and make a video. To me, those kind of things are more valuable ultimately. If somebody's thinking about buying a camera for the first time, that's more valuable feedback than these, these are the specs, this is what it can do. We took it out for a few days and we got this kind of hit. I mean, those videos, there's a place for them. And really the only guy that I think does a good job with that, I'm sure there's others that I can't think of right now, but Gordon Lang over at Camera Labs. Gordon Lang, I think, is the best in the business when it comes to doing camera reviews. And the reason I say that, because he covers everything. He doesn't do like a 10-minute video. He does like 30, 40-minute videos, and he goes through everything and really gives and even though he probably only has the camera for a couple of weeks, he's very, very thorough. And does offer comparisons to other cameras he's tested at the end of the video, saying, this camera does this, this, and this is very compelling offer in the market compared to what's available now. But these are the other cameras that you might want to consider, or yada, yada. He's one of the best, in my opinion. And I say that because I connect with his way of showing the product and doing the review. My brain connects with him very well in that respect. You may hate the guy and think his reviews suck, but for me, he does an excellent job for me and what I'm looking for in a camera review. Um, so I can highly recommend Gordon Lang over at Camera Labs. So I guarantee he's going to do one on the OM1. Um, and then there's other viewers that I watch, other reviews that I watch, that I'm looking for a very specific response, not so much their thoughts on the technical aspects, the weaknesses, yada yada. But for example, when Frono's photo basically destroyed the EM1X, like he just killed it. Like, he's not buying that camera, right? I said at the time that was the best review on the EM1X that I've ever seen. Uh, because the idea at the time in my head was that Olympus was trying to capture a full frame users market, and by introducing the CM1X, because full frame cameras with double grips, they're all big. So Olympus is like, let me try this. Let me hold on. It's my mom. Hello. Yeah. Yeah. Hmm. Yeah, you don't that's fine. Can I call you back? Yeah. Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm in the middle of a yeah, I'm in the middle of a live stream, so I need I'll call you back. Okay. All right. Thanks. Bye. Anyhow, I don't even know what I was talking about now. uh, oh, I was talking about Fro. So in my mind was, Olympus was trying to capture some of the full frame market, right? Like people might be thinking about a full frame, but here's the M1X. Maybe think about that instead. Or maybe I'm shooting full frame now and maybe I want to convert to the M1X because of the all the advantages of micro four thirds. And Fro hated it. And basically I said that's an awesome review because if Olympus was trying to capture anybody in the full frame market, they're not getting it. They're not going to get it because you couldn't convince Fro a fraction, not one little bit, that EM1X was any kind of alternative to full frame. So I thought that was a great review overall. Okay, so oh, this is old. Gerald Undone debunked the theory. Gerald Undone has a great channel too, and I watched him a lot early on. I really haven't watched his channel in the past probably 2 years. I may have hit one or two videos of his in the last 2 years, but I I don't know. I just lost interest in what he had to say. I'm not criticizing his channel even a little bit. It just, when you connect with people, you watch their channel a lot, and I just stopped connecting with him somehow. The new camera's look is on 43 rumors. Yeah, they just tweaked it a little bit. I mean, the ergonomics on the M1 series is so good. I can't imagine what kind of changes they might make to make it even better. Oh, here's a question. The Mark 5 II, half press the shutter locks focus, but I hear the motor running. Oh, that's the IBIS. When you half press the shutter button, the IBIS turns on to stabilize the image. It's really useful for like telephoto lenses, where you're looking through the EVF and it stabilizes the image while you half press the shutter button. So yeah, it's just the IBIS working. Yeah, and this is how I understand when we were talking about aperture, light gathering is f4, depth of field is f8. That's pretty, pretty much it for me, right? Uh, 7 access is impossible. Interesting. My brain is not ready to try and figure that one out. But I respect anything Stanislav says. Um, he's pretty solid technically. Maximum 6 degrees of freedom in mechanics. Okay. See, again, terminology I never use in my everyday life. Um, yeah, and I've seen the shots that Randy takes with his 300 f4 on Flickr, and they are just awesome. Awesome. On top of being sharp and everything else, the lens, if you want to look at the lens quality, you look at Randy's images, that's proof right there. And here's a little more. 6-axis in IBIS means that moving forward and backward is also compensated, but it's compensated by AFC indeed. Oh, interesting. Because, yeah, we got pan, tilt, rotation. That's 5 accesses, right? But you're saying motion forward and backwards too. Wow. If they can do that with the autofocus, probably need a pro lens with fast motors. But that's interesting. I mean, in a way, we have it now, right? AFC. Yeah. I know. I'm not sure. I still have gas. I don't know why. I have no money. I have lots of credit. So if my credit cards agree with me that I need a new camera, then I get a new camera. Much to my detriment to future self, right? Because I'm gonna die even poorer than I am now if I keep this up. First book you got was in camera. Perfect picture straight out of camera book from Gordon. Oh, okay. Back to old Gordon Lang. Yeah, Gordon Lang is awesome. And the EM1X was to support the 300 millimeter and the upcoming 150 to 400, and all went great in the end. Okay, yeah. It's a great camera. I mean, it's too big for me, but that's just me, right? That's not the camera. The camera is awesome. And Annette is also saying the 300 is really nice. And John here says Tony just does not know what he is talking about most of the time. So I just don't watch him. Meanwhile, E6 Vlogs has put out a good video on architecture. Oh, I gotta watch that. E6 Vlogs is great. Um, that's another great channel. I'm glad he's cranking some videos out now. Not that I don't watch too much YouTube already. Oh, it's just insane. But God, I gotta help my mom out after this stream, and I gotta finish. I'm trying to make this, trying to make a semi-epic video, but it's not going too well. I stayed up till 3 in the morning editing this video, and I watched a little bit of it just before the stream, and I'm like, oh, I gotta start over. So I wasted all night and most of this morning working on a video that I'm probably never going to publish. But that's okay. I learned a lot. I learned a lot about that. Don't work after midnight. Your quality will suffer. As soon as we starting photography practice, the size of the sensor greatly diminishes its importance. But for pure theoretical photography, full frame is better. Yeah, for the technical people, that want all the latest gear and features and everything that goes with technology, right? Some people just enjoy that. I know I do. I enjoy technology. Um, and and if they weren't so freaking expensive, I'd probably own every high-end camera, right? I'd have me a freaking phase one medium format. Um, I'd have me a couple of the Hassies that are now digitals. And all of the Fujifilm. I would have all these cameras, right? The large formats or the medium formats, the semi-medium formats, the full frames, APS. I would have it all because I just love technology, and I would have fun. But ultimately, uh, I have to pick things within my means that are going to best serve what I need to do or what I want to accomplish. And if my goal is to be a better photographer, I don't need a phase one. You know what I mean? Medium format, a real medium format, 6x6 sensor, right? Um, I don't need that to be a better photographer, or to become a better photographer. I can just use, frankly, an iPhone or my cell phone. I hate Apple. I could just use a cell phone, but that's very limiting. So I have to step up my game and get a real camera, a legit camera. So maybe a bridge camera, and I have a couple of bridge camera. Well, I have one bridge camera, and that may be enough to improve my photography. But um, it's really not quite enough because the bridge camera I have is a very small sensor. So I stepped up to interchangeable lens camera, and um, and then you start watching YouTube, and you're like upgrade the full frame was kind of the thing, right? So I went from a D7100 APS-C to a D750, and really for me that was one of the dumbest things I ever did. I should have got another D7100, because the D750 did me no favors. I mean, I bought it because I liked all of the technical things, right? I'm going to get better dynamic range, better. Uh, at the time, it has slightly better autofocus and the tilty screen, and because I don't think my D7100 had a tilt screen, and the larger EVF, right? Not EVF, OVF. It had a larger viewfinder, so I could see better. I mean, it had a lot of things about it. It had the newer X-Speed processor, just all these technical aspects. And then you watch YouTube and it reinforces these ideas in your head that, yeah, you want this and you want this glass and you want that. Um, and I worked hard to improve my photography with that D750. Um, but ultimately the camera had nothing to do with me improving my photography, right? Um, So, like I've said many times, I bought the EM10 Mark II, my very first Micro Four Thirds camera, for just to have a smaller, lighter thing to take out hiking and camping, and then quickly switched over to using that professionally, and the rest is history. 1106 share. And then here's a comment from Enzo. For those that are professional photographers, one who earns a living through photography, the end result is what your client demands or no payment. Um, you are correct. Did any client ask your gear? No, never. Never asked me. Now, when I was doing a portrait session once, they did mention, "Oh, you use Olympus." Um, but that's because it says Olympus on the front of the camera. I don't think they didn't know anything about photography. Oh, actually, there was this one client that was a enthusiast and didn't shoot Olympus, but did respect that I did shoot Olympus for his work, because I was shooting his, this is actually the one of the laundromats I took a picture did shots for, is he was a Sony shooter, but he had no disrespect for my Olympus gear, because I was using my Olympus gear to take photos for he was paying me to take photos of his laundromat, and, he didn't care that I was using Olympus, even though he's a Sony shooter, and he knew all the other YouTube he never heard of my channel. I didn't mention that I had one, but he would have mentioned it to me if he knew me from YouTube, right? But, yeah, he didn't care that I was using Olympus, you know, because we talked a little bit about cameras and some YouTube channels, that he watches, and he was a Sony shooter. But even then, he didn't care. Even though he was a photo enthusiast, he didn't care that I was using Micro Four Thirds, because he understood that it's not about the gear, right? It's about the photographer and the skill set that I had to be able to take the images that he wanted. Um, and then here, let's see. Sebastian says, to me, the problem in digital photography is downloading on a PC and using a zoom to see the little details when if you print, you do not recognize the difference. Yeah, pixel peeping, right? I think it's okay to pixel peep, but you have to have, you have to understand when you go to print, depending on the size of the print, it may not show, right? Uh, but when I was showing the images from my 14 to 150, oh my God, yeah, that's going to show in a print. It may even be desirable in a print. I'll have to print one out and see. But I should print this picture. That was a straight out of camera JPEG. That was actually a nice image. I mean, I liked it anyway. You know what? I'm gonna put some paper in and print that out. What do you think? Glossy or matte? Let's do uh let's do glossy. That shows the most detail, right? Uh, so I'm gonna show you the mess in my room here. Um, there's my there's my printing station. Let's see, I got Epson photo gloss paper. Thrilling live stream, right? Watching me print something. But I'm curious now. As bad as that image looks from that I showed you earlier, I got some good Epson glossy paper. And I haven't cleaned the print heads in a month on this. So I hate this. I have to select the printer type or paper type now. So paper type 8.5 by 11, okay. Uh, done. No, I'm not done. I have to select glossy. Hold on. Paper size, okay. Letter, okay. Paper type. Oh, there it is. Premium glossy, right? This was my premium? Oh, this is not premium glossy, so I'm just going to select glossy. All right. And now we're done. Okay, let's print this baby out. Uh, yeah, this one's a wreck, right? So print. Where's the print? I usually print from Photolab, but since this is just a JPEG, it doesn't really matter. So printer, properties. So we're going to do high quality, no, photo glossy, 8.5 by 11, portrait, no, landscape, premium, no, it's not premium, just photo paper glossy, quality high. I don't know if you guys can see this screen, but I'm trying to, the reason you go through all this is because the Epson printer, I'm just using an office printer. It's not a true photo printer, but Epson has already calibrated the colors for the different paper types that you can print on. And so if I use all of the default settings, I get pretty much not default, but if I use all of the correct settings in the printer setup, I do get very accurate colors out of the printer. Because I'm using Epson paper, I'm using Epson ink, and I'm using an Epson printer. So all of those things. Okay, so let me finish printing this. Okay, print preview, just to double check. Color correction, let's see, advanced. I think I picked, yeah, Epson Vivid's fine. If I do automatic, that's fine. Image options, nope. And high speed. Okay, so we're good. Click OK, click OK. All right, so that should print. Well, the preview should come up. Where's the, there it is. Here's the preview. Oh, crap. See, that's why I have to check it. I have to start over. One of the settings were wrong. Maybe because I selected landscape printer. Portrait. Oh, yeah, I need to shoot portrait. I selected landscape by mistake. Double check this. Automatic. Okay, good. One more check. High quality. Okay. Bam. Now that should be right. Yeah, that's right. Okay. So print. Okay, I'm back. That'll just take a minute to print. To pull the tray out. Oh, there we go. All right. While we wait for that, let me catch up on some of the. Watch there be streaks in it because I haven't checked the inks in a while. I haven't checked the print heads in at least a week. Uh, okay, Rob's mom was asking, wow. Let me catch up on some of the chat. For the book I got, can't, yep, I saw that. EM1X, the support, saw that. Yeah, and again, this is going back to full size, Tony saying that full size sensor has 4 times the light gathering ability. But yeah, a light meter is a light meter, yada yada. Okay. Oh, hey Rick, how you doing? The f4 300 Pro is one of my most loved lenses. Yeah, it's amazing. The pictures I've seen from it are amazing. I would have one if I did more sports wildlife myself. Oh, a train museum video, that would be cool. But I know what you mean about the wind. Man, I was making a video the other day and I had to scrap all of the video from that vlog. I was going to post a vlog this week, but the wind was so strong that none of the audio came out. So I was like, screw it. So I just didn't so that's another video scrapped this week. So I have 2 videos I've scrapped this week. Um the vlog because of the wind. The wind was just horrendous. So all of the audio was all choppy and you know how what wind does to audio. And then the one I was working on this morning, my epic video. Oh, are you trying to post a link, Christine? If you're still here, I can't. I'll try and do it. If I make you a moderator, temporarily, you can post a link. So let me do that. Okay, so Christine, if you want to post a link, you should be able to now. I just made you a moderator. I'm always in GAM. Nah, you're in gear acquisition mode for an A92 or an FX9. What's an FX9? Is that another Sony camera? I think the print is done. Let's see. And then here's some more about IBIS, I think. In 7-axis machining, it includes the rotation axis of the part by the chuck. If the earth moves for you when you're taking a picture, perhaps where traditional axes come from. Oh, okay. Right? Physics is physics, whether you're talking about a sensor or machining, right? Okay. This is about links. Oh, an old Nikon 400 f4. Cool. And it's dirt cheap, relatively speaking, for what you're getting, right? And Paul says the M43. Let me get my print while you guys read that. Hold on. Ooh, this looks really good. Okay, let me read this real quick before we go. In my opinion, an M43 camera with a full frame camera is the best setup. Great depth of field for every photography type and shallow depth of field for portraits or taking shots with high shutter speed and low light. Yeah. Mix and match, right? I mean, ultimately, uh, you have to find a workflow that works best for you, and then again, choose the gear that's going to fit your workflow. Um, it doesn't surprise me that there would be people out there shooting Micro Four Thirds in full frame at the same time at an event, maybe, right? I don't know. It's not a workflow that I'm in, but All right, let me see. Okay, good. Cameralabs.com. Oh, is that what you were trying to post? Okay. Uh, all right, let me turn off the moderation. I don't want to put that kind of pressure on anybody. Okay, let me see if I can share this print. Well, anyway, print it out and it's really nice. Uh, it looks, and let me turn this back around. But yeah, when I put this print up next to the monitor, my monitor is calibrated, and I used all of the correct settings in the printer setup. So it looks, the colors are really close. The blues, the only thing is it's a little bit, maybe, let me get out of this mode. Let me look at it this way. The blues are just a tiny bit off. There's a hint more, there's a hint more green on the screen than what's in the photo. Just a hair. Close enough for me, but if you're very, very critical about color in your prints, I did something wrong. I noticed the blues here are just a little bit bluer, or it has less green in it. Something is slightly off, so I'm gonna have to diagnose that. But it's close enough for me. Like at first glance, I didn't notice it, but when I really looked at it, so either my monitor is not calibrated, or the calibration is drifted. I haven't done it in a couple of months. The calibration is drifted, or I selected something wrong in the printer setup. But in terms of, I don't know if I can get this to focus, but let's see. Yeah, there's the print. And then let me flip over to the image. Here's the image. Wait, why did that go away? F, right? Full screen. There we go. And then here's the image. So if I punch in onto the same spot, and then let me focus. This is like so ridiculous, right? What I'm trying to do here. Let me find the same area of the photo. It's hard to tell. Let me go back and refocus. Well, I'll just have to tell you. I'll just have to tell you what I see. Print versus online, or print versus screen. Get my thick readers on here. Yeah, it shows. The softness in the trees up here, it shows. But honestly, it doesn't matter. It looks much better in print than it does on screen. In fact, it looks really good on print. And again, this is straight out of camera JPEG. Wow, I like it. This softness that I'm getting in the top here and the bottom makes it it's like a fake depth of field when it's just a sucky lens. I mean, it's not a bad lens. I'm just saying it didn't do a good job here. Wow. I'm pretty happy with that. I don't know if this is a hang on the wall type print, but it's definitely going in my binder where I keep all of my prints. I love some of these prints. These are anyway, if you guys don't if you're not printing your photos, I tell you, you are missing out, man. It's so rewarding to print your photos. And you don't have to have a fancy pants printer. Just be very conscious of making sure you use the correct ink. You know, you buy the brand name ink. That's why I bought an EcoTank printer because the original Epson ink is very cheap when you buy the EcoTanks. And use an Epson paper, then use all of the default, then you can easily make the correct settings and everything is calibrated. It's when you start buying, generic ink and using generic paper and then not calibrating your monitor that you start getting all of these inconsistencies in your prints and things don't look right. Ah, yes. So this is a Great Falls image here from the same park, but this was a film black and white, and then this is a color. So these two actually go together in a way. Not that I'm making a book and I need to edit and organize the photos, but if I ever did make a book, that's one of the things you have to think about. All right. Oh, I'm so happy. Yeah, you guys are really missing out if you're not printing. But that printing that photo just made my day. It's like my outlook on life is so positive now. I mean, before I printed this, I was feeling really down. The simple things in life, right? Okay. Uh yeah. Roberto knows all about wind. I saw your video on your little what is it? 360 camera or whatever you got. That little tiny thing. And you were bitching about the wind, man. I know that. And if you haven't seen Roberto's channel, I mean, I think it's great. I love your vlogs and everything. Um, and let me just back up a little bit. I'm just catching up on the chat. Oh, Epson Premium Luster. Okay. I have to try that when I run out of this stuff. I mean, I just bought the pack, so it's like and I haven't even finished my matte paper. I don't know. I got so much paper now. But I don't know, for 10 or 20 bucks, if I can get some luster and see. I don't know. I gotta slow down though. Yeah, and Christine says Tony used to like M40. I think he still likes it. He just doesn't talk about it on his channel unless there's some um, benefit to talking about it, right? Um, he's definitely a gearhead. He wants the latest and greatest and wants all of that technology all the time. And I wonder if I've ever seen. I wonder, does he have a portfolio online? I'm curious. I know he's done stock photography, and that's very different. Those are that makes sense. Stock photography, because you have to be very, very technical about your stock images. The format, the resolution, they're very, very technical requirements. The composition, everything. So that makes sense that he did stock photography, but I don't know if he has like has he ever published a photo book? either himself or not, and I'm not talking about his $10 book and his Lightroom books. I'm talking about, like, just a photo book, right, with pictures in it. Be interesting to see. I mean, he may be a fantastic photographer, who knows? You do videos for a train or bus, interesting. Ugh, wow. And let's see, I'm almost caught up here. Rick has a question for all. When did you last visit an art gallery? Even more important, when did you last watch a traditional painting art appreciate video on YouTube? Well, I watched one just the other day, actually, and it was on the one of those philosophers, the death of Socrates, right? Um, I think that's what the painting was called. And I think it was Socrates. Might have been Plato. One Death of Plato, maybe. I can't. My memory is bad. Like I said, my medium term memory. Like if it just happened a few days ago, I'm gonna forget. I did watch that, and it was really interesting. A very interesting painting and an analysis on the painting. And before that, I watched a video about the Mona Lisa. Now that I know is Leonardo da Vinci, right? And that was a really fascinating video. A lot of things, the Mona Lisa is a great example of, how how a great painting just kind of gets lost in the noise because it's everywhere. Everywhere. Whenever you see a painting, right? Um, when people talk about paintings, they talk about the Mona Lisa. And it just to me it just kind of got lost in the noise because it's everywhere. But when you stop and look at it, and they did this analysis on it, I was fascinated. I was fascinated by everything about that image. Um, like how like it was interesting, like when you look at the image, is she smiling or is she not smiling? Right? And Da Vinci studied like all the muscles in the human face. So around the eyes, he painted it sort of like when somebody's smiling, like this, right? The eyes and the muscles in the eyes change and contract differently. But in the mouth, he used like a regular, like just the mouth closed type muscles. So depending on when you're looking at the image, it looks like she's smiling because her eyes are smiling, but her mouth is not. But her mouth is just neutral enough that it could be smiling. It's really ingenious. I'm not articulating this very well, but it's really ingenious. Um, and the painting with, I forget the philosopher that they executed, but he was accused of heresy or something, and he had to drink poison. I don't know if it was Plato or Socrates. And he had his mentors there. Or he had one of his mentors there, a lot of his students around in the painting. Um, and the analysis of all these different things, like the other philosopher, which was one of his mentors, or not mentors, but peers, I don't know, but was very old in the picture. But they said, in fact, that when the main protagonist was killed, I forget who it is, Plato or Socrates. Um, this other philosopher would actually been very, very young at the time that this event happened, but the painter deliberately painted this other philosopher very, very old and sitting in a position that sort of is really fascinating. And then, of course, they talked about all of the symbolism, right? Why is this other philosopher very old? There's some symbolism tied to that. Um, and and then the number of people in the painting. It was really an interesting analysis. I can't remember anything now. Like the Mona Lisa, they the if you look at the horizon behind her, and it's not a real place apparently. Apparently whatever he painted behind her was just some abstract landscape that doesn't exist, I think. I could be remembering this incorrectly, but the landscape is not level behind her. It's like a little higher on one side than the other. And the intent of that, at least in this analysis, was that, the Da Vinci wanted to create a sense of motion in the image. And but anyhow, I do watch time to time videos on uh art, right? And paintings. And the analysis, and you can almost always apply what you learn from these videos to your photography, right? Particularly when you're doing composition and symbolism and looking at light, and trying to add meaning to your photo and tell a story or give a message. I mean, it's really really fascinating. Uh, I mean, I can only hope to ever get even 1%, do 1% in my photography of what these paintings do. 1% of 1%, you know. Uh, but okay, and then what was the other part of that? When did you last watch a traditional painting appreciation? Yeah, okay. When did I last go to an art gallery? It's been a long freaking time, mainly because um, the obviously the last couple of years it's been prohibitive to go out, but before that it's been a long, long time. I've gone to museums, like I've gone to the Air and Space Museum, which is just a bunch of planes and spacecraft, and there's some artwork there. But it's funny you should mention this because it is definitely one of my goals this year is to attend a photo exhibit at a museum. If I can, once I start looking into it, um, rather than say a gallery, right? Because I think if you have a photo exhibit in a museum, it's um it's a little bit higher level of photography, right? So I mean, I'm making an assumption here, but I see galleries everywhere. Well, let me rephrase it. I see galleries more often than I do exhibits at museums for photography related type stuff. And and of course there's the art stores everywhere, not as proliferate as they used to be. I've gone into those time to time more recently. I've gone into art stores and I went to a photo show where they had a lot of photography on display, but they were mostly photographers I never heard of. And that's not their fault. That's my fault because I don't know jack about other people's work and who's good and who's not. But if I go to a museum and I see a photo exhibit in a museum, I'm going to try and remember that person's name because odds are are really good, right? And I do want to buy some more photo books. I bought recently a book. I mean, I don't own any books. I own one, and it's not even really a photo book, but I do own one book now. Let me show you. This is very very specific to um, the United States, right? But it's the events of September 11th in words, pictures, and video. They had this at Goodwill. You guys know I shop at Goodwill. Everything I'm wearing, I bought at Goodwill. Uh, but it has all these photos in it, right? And everything is black and white. So I was trying to find some inspiration for the project. And this obviously is photojournalism, right? It's not art photography. But I just, for it was only $2. So I got all these photos that I can look at and read a little bit of history because obviously this had an impact on my life directly, believe it or not, because my dad was in the Pentagon when it got hit. So I remember this day very, very well, where I was and watching the news and worrying about my dad if he was okay. So this has a lot of personal, I have a lot of personal attachment to this day. Um, not just as an event, but as a personal story with this. So that's why I got this because it has photos and pictures, or I just said a double positive there. Get it? But also comes with a DVD with the the full day of events of the news that happening, live news. So this was this has so this is my very first book that I bought specifically because of the photographs. But also, the content of the story and the DVDs and everything and the meaning it has in my life. But I am looking for more photo books. So I've been watching that dude, the Photographic Eye, that channel, because he talks about all these different photographers and his thoughts on their photography. But I get a chance to see some of the photos in there that they've done, and then I can look them up on Amazon because it's I you can Instagram and Flickr and look at everybody's photos, and they're really great photos there. But what is really a great photograph? What makes a photograph, you know, uh, museum exhibit worthy, so to speak? Or, like Cartier-Bresson or Eggleston, all these guys that have big names. Um, what's the other guy's name? Sergio, Sebastian, something. I mean, there's a lot of great photographers out there, and I've seen just a smattering of their work online because other people have talked about them. But I don't have any of their photo books, so I'm definitely going to get one. Maybe I'll go look for one today. No, I don't have time today, but I'm going to get another book this week. Uh, of somebody that I think would be a good place to start looking at amazing, like very famous type photography, big photography, and see if I can, see if that inspires me or gives me ideas or I don't know. I just want to see it for myself, not see something online. And then I do want to go to an art gallery, maybe a museum exhibit, but I want to see it with my own eyes because looking at this picture that I just printed on the screen versus what it looks like after I printed it, I like the print much better than what I'm seeing on the screen. So, how will that translate when I actually go to an art gallery or an art museum, Um, seeing it with my own eyes versus just seeing it on a screen or a YouTube video. Okay. Oh, you have PTSD. You have some experience with that too, huh, Randy? Oh, David Crooks decided to roll in. Hope you're feeling better. You must be because I saw your picture at Huntley Meadows. Um, so I assume you're feeling better, which is good. And Music Sound Gear is here, late as always. um, and let me scroll up. I left off somewhere. Socrates, thank you. That painting, The Death of Socrates. Oh, I told you my memory. Whose names did I bring? I brought Plato and some other dude. I don't think I mentioned Socrates. And Oh, you started out in 3D animation, had to learn the body, muscles, and how to move. Interesting. I didn't know that. 3D animation. What are the chances that I'll have that Micro Four Thirds guy in your live stream? Uh, I haven't even thought about it, but I could. I can ask him. All he can say is no, right? Um, right now, I'm trying to put together some female photographers for the live stream, either as a group or individually. I haven't gotten any responses yet, though. Wow, nobody thinks Tony can take a decent shot? That's interesting. I have no idea what his photography's like. I mean, just because somebody doesn't share their photography doesn't mean they're a bad photographer, right? Maybe they just choose not to share it. But um, I mean, I don't share everything that I do. Some photos I really like, and I've never shared them. That's for sure. And you've wallpapered your apartment with your own photos. That's cool. Did I convert RGB to? No, I did not. I didn't, I assume you're talking about when I was printing. Uh, like I said, I used the printer interface for the settings. So I was printing a JPEG, which is RGB, right? Now, if the printer interface did any kind of conversion to CMKY, uh, it's behind the scenes. It's nothing I did directly. Now, CMYK, right? That's a printing color profile because displaying on your screen in RGB is very different than printing on the paper. And you have to use a different color profile because you're talking about reflective light versus uh, incident lighting. I don't know. It's beyond me how all that stuff really works. I just know that CMYK is a printing profile, and sometimes you have to convert your PDF or whatever you submit to your printer in that color profile so that when they print the book or magazine or whatever it is you're printing, uh, will come out in the colors as you expect it, as you see. But again, that's a workflow that I'm not that familiar with. Um, I've only gotten good enough. I let me not good enough. I have a workflow where I can get fairly accurate colors from what I see on the screen to what I see on the printer. And the workflow is very systematic and dependent upon everything Epson has done because I'm using a simple uh, office printer. I'm not using a photo printer, so it only has four tanks: black, red, green, yellow, or whatever those four colors are, right? True photo printers, man, they can have 8 cartridges or more, right? Where it's very fine and you have deep black, black, some kind of mid gray, then you got different reds and different yellows. I mean, they got these really high-end office or photo printers. And again, I would stick to, if I bought an Epson printer, I'm going to stick to Epson paper and use the Epson interface to automatically uh, do all of the color correcting. Now you have to make sure you don't select like some things. You don't want it to add sharpening. You don't want it to uh, make the colors too vivid, right? You don't want to select a lot of things that in quote unquote might enhance the photo. You want to reproduce what you see on the screen as closely as possible. So it's not a foolproof. It's not a hands-off system. You have to be a little bit hands-on when you're printing, but it's very printer specific and dependent. and paper and ink and all of that. It's very, very dependent on everything being consistent. Okay. Someday I'll calibrate. A giveaway. Sign it and frame it. Oh man, nobody wants my stupid picture of that waterfall or whatever it was, the trees. I never understood. This is one thing that I never understood, and that was celebrity signatures, right? People, like if you're into baseball, you'd be like, oh, so and so signed my baseball, or this actor or actress signed their portrait photo, so you get a photo and they sign it. Um, and then these things get value, right? Some I don't know what how I imagine, sky's the limit when it comes to uh getting people's autographs in terms of what they're worth. And I never understood that personally. I'm like, why would I pay for, let's take a baseball for example. You can buy a baseball for like $5 or, at the store. Oh, and if I have somebody sign it, some baseball person, why is it suddenly worth, $1,000? It just the concept that it just escapes me, why that is. Um, I mean, I could care less about anybody's signature if they signed their their photo or not. Now, I understand when an artist signs their paintings, right? Because you got to get they need credit that they sign their paintings. Sometimes they sign it on the back, not even on the front, exposed. Some photographers, will sign their photos like uh, what's his name was suggesting that I do sign it and give it away. Uh, I mean, I could do it, but I don't know why it would have any value at all to anybody. It's not a great photo. I'm not a celebrity, and you know, anyway, yeah, proves our sharpness is absurd. Oh my God, it's almost 12:30. I should get going. Let me just skim through the oh, Anne is here. When did you come in? Um, man, this chat was when I was talking about the paintings. Um, yeah, I noticed it now, but not at the time. Uh, he was asking me if I noticed. Rick sent me a portrait, and yeah, it was a very subtle smile, right? But I'm learning, Rick. I'm trying. I'm trying to learn, you know, everything about expression and symbolism, and I've been practicing self-portraits as you've seen lately, although they're not in the spirit of the kind of things I want to eventually get to. They're definitely good practice for me to start to get a feel for the kind of lighting and how it looks and things like that. I'm just baby steps, baby steps when it comes to uh, that particular improving my photography in a more artistic way. It's really hard for me because I'm such a technical photographer. Uh, what is this in reference to? It's Karak Kai from Dubai. Been watching his channel for a long time. Able to get him some coffee. Oh, thank you. Did somebody somebody must have made a super chat. Thank you so much. I'm sorry. I missed that. Because the screen that I'm looking at here doesn't show me super chats if you made any. So everyone that's made any super chats today, I really appreciate that. It helps me out a lot. Trust me. Um, and this one, David Crooks. And this is about the galleries. Watch out for guided tours that galleries often offer. They're usually well worth attending. At my local gallery, they've even turned over incidental furniture. Show us how carpentry. Oh, interesting. And some galleries produce catalogs from exhibitions where they explain their reasonings. Yeah, it's a whole area that I've never oh yeah, Ted Forbes has a lot of good videos about different photographers, right? Yeah, I've seen a few of his. The most recent one I saw, and it was about a month ago, but it was on that I forget her name. Is a female photographer that, they somebody bought a box, a trunk, and all her negatives were in there, not developed. And he talked about her. I remember that. Yeah. Loss was talking about the 9/11 book I just purchased. Um, I think this is directed at Randy. Wasn't it in the Omen that the guy wallpapered his apartment with his own photographs? Oh, Enzo says, I was part of the FBI, all these acronyms, evidence recovery. I was fortunate to memorize the tragic event with my personal camera. Wow. A Minolta. I know what you mean looking at the pics. Wow. Yeah, interesting. Um, and Steven says, I use an Epson XP 8600, six color inks. I think the current one is XP 8700. Yeah, I'm looking at, I got, I, my wide format printer stopped working. So I gave all my paper to Walter because he has a wide format printer. So I gave him all my wide format paper because I said, I'm never going to print wide again. And the other day I'm looking at wide format printers again. I'm like, I would like to print larger, but God, they're so expensive. Yeah, NFTs are now signed photographs. Yeah, that's an interesting concept. I'm still not sold on it. I know people are making money on it, but I'm still not sold on NFTs myself. And Roman thinks NFT is the future. Wow, I NFTs just give me a bad feeling. I don't know why. It just feels like a scam somehow. And that's a strong word, but I just don't understand it. So I'm just staying away from it. Because when you don't understand something, but you're greedy and you want to try and make money, this is the surest formula to lose money, right? Is to buy into something you don't understand. Um, oh, that's interesting. Rick has a suggestion for aviation artist painter there. Studying famous elephant, steam locomotive, and aviation artist painters. Yeah, painting in general, right? Where are we? Have you ever done a video for HDR in-camera stacking bracketing for real estate? Not specifically. I do have real estate videos where you follow me. There is one video where I think I did show how I did process one or two images, but um, just go to Nathan Cool, his channel. He does an excellent job demonstrating how he does HDR and stuff. So don't, even if I have a video on it, it's nothing compared to what Nathan Cool has on his channel for that kind of thing. But I've done a video, but it wasn't a dedicated video to that. It was just kind of a simple thing. Don't watch mine. They suck compared to his. And Robin says I should take my EP1 and come to Europe and forget about all the techniques you know about sharp pictures. Yeah, I'll go to Europe one day. I'm getting a little bit more open to traveling. Uh, it may not be for years from now, but one day I will travel again. Yes, Vivian Mayer, thank you. That's the one that Art of Photography talked about. And then Johanna says, concerning NFTs, no, here I stay old fashioned, but several contemporary photographers. Images of on Ann Nixon, Brown Sisters. I adore them in print and framed on a wall. Yeah. Uh, your difficulty is that you try to consciously learn by creating rules, but you'll actually find you're learning subconsciously, subliminally by studying the technique. Okay, I'll buy that. If I could learn something just by going to sleep, like if I could just sleep with this book instead of a pillow and learn it, that'd be awesome. Or the Matrix, just plug something in my brain. But for now, we have to do it the long way, right? Read books and oh, Ansel Adams. I think I do have a book by Ansel Adams. I probably bought it like 7 or 8 years ago when I started getting back into photography, but never looked at it because I was like, this is black and white. But I need to go back. I need to find that book. Uh, oh, Marco's here. Have you experimented with Olympus Capture Plus Olympus Workspace for wireless tethering? No, I have not. I did it once, but I don't have a practical need for it. So, but it's kind of neat. It's like you have your camera and everything you can control on your screen instead of on diving through the menus. Everything's on your computer. So it's just like having your computer doing all of the having it's like having the menu on your computer instead of on your camera, and you can control everything. Mhm. And that says, I have a room for you. Oh, thank you. Where are you? Oh, I'm sorry, Marco. You said wireless tethering. I have not tried wireless. I did a wired. I may have done it wireless. I can't remember. It was so long ago. It was a couple of years ago that I did it. I can't remember if I was wired or wireless. But like I said, I don't have a workflow or a need for that particular functionality, so I didn't explore it further. Yeah, if your husband and dog lets you in, that's a pretty high barrier there. And then last word from Rick here. You better find a professional local printer and pay them to make important prints. You being there, they'll teach you so much about your own images. Buying a printer, yeah, I know. That's why I gave Walter all of my paper because I was like, if I buy a wide format printer, I'm just going to end up having the ink dry out again. That's what happened to my old one. And I tried hard to get it unclogged and yada. I had no success. So that's what I said to myself when I gave Walter all of my paper. I said, I'm never going to print. Either Walter can print it for me with the paper I gave him, or I can go to a printer. But the reason I started looking at printers because I was like, how much is it to get like a 16 by 20 print? And I was like, $40. $40. It was like $40 for a 16 by 20 print. And I was like, holy crap. So that's why I was like, all right, how much were those large format printers again? That's why I went shopping for them. And I was like, because 10 prints would be like nothing. Nothing. 10 prints is nothing. And that's $400. And I'm like, holy crap, maybe I should get a wide format printer back, a nice 24-inch printer. Oh, but anyway, that was the only reason I started looking because I was just shocked at how much it was to get a print done. Oh, good, Randy. You sold your prints there or your lenses. Randy had offered those to me first if I was interested, and I said, "Oh, no. I'm just not I'm just not a telephoto guy. I have a 75 to 300 and that's good enough for me. I'm not serious about telephoto work, so I'm fine." Oh, John Matthews just walked in. So, hi and goodbye. I have to go. It's 12:40. My God. I need to go help my mom with some stuff and then finish my video. And don't forget Tuesday, Jimmy Chang is doing a live stream and I should be on that too. So you guys all join me on Tuesday, okay, with Jimmy Chang on Red 35 YouTube channel. We're going to talk about the OM camera that's being released officially. So we should get the official specs, pictures of it. So it'll be a lot of fun to see the new camera from OM Systems. And we'll all share our opinion, I guess, of what we think of it. Um, but it'll be fun. So I hope to see all you guys there. Thanks for joining me today. I know today was a long stream. I think with all the printing and I don't know. Sometimes I just and all the rants I had today. I appreciate you guys bearing through that with me, and I'll see you guys back again on Tuesday. Thanks for being here.